In this video, I'm going to show you how to easily create 3D ball and stick models of compounds for ClassVR based chemistry teaching resources. I'll be doing this on a PC running Windows 10 in September of 2020. The first step is to download Blender. You may do this by clicking on the big blue download button of the first website. All website links have been provided in order below in the video description. Once this is finished, simply navigate to your Downloads folder and double-click on the downloaded installer file. Today I'll be skipping this step as I've already downloaded the installer to save some time. Next, simply run through the Blender setup wizard, and this may take just a moment. Press yes to this prompt. And now we've finished installing Blender. The next step is to download Avogadro. You may do this by clicking on the download tab of the second link provided, which will navigate you to the download page, and after 5 or so seconds it should automatically start the download. Similarly, once this is done, navigate to your downloads folder and double click on the installer. Once again, I've pre-downloaded this to save some time. Press yes to the prompt and run through the setup wizard. I would recommend creating the Avogadro desktop icon by clicking on the checkbox. Now that we've downloaded both programs, we need to set up Blender. To launch the application, simply double-click on the icon, or alternatively, you can go down to the bottom and type in the Windows 10 search bar, Blender, and just click on the first result. Once this is open, simply click anywhere on the screen to get rid of this pop-up. And now we need to configure the program so that it will accept files that we will be creating in Avogadro. You can do this by going to the top left, clicking on the Edit drop-down, and selecting the Preferences option. Using the sidebar, navigate to the Add-ons section, and using the search bar on the top right of this window, simply search the term Atomic. Now we need to make sure that this checkbox is selected, like so. Once this is done, we can simply exit out of both the window and Blender. The next step is to open up Avogadro. Once again, we can do this by either double-clicking on the Avogadro icon or by searching for Avogadro using the Windows 10 search bar at the bottom of your window. Once the application is open, make sure that both the Tool Settings and Display Settings buttons are pressed and highlighted in blue. Using this window on the left, make sure that only the ball and stick and label checkboxes are selected, and make sure the Draw tool is selected, which looks like the little pen at the top of your screen. Next, we can set which atom we want the software to add when we click into this black interface over here. We can specify the bond order we want, and we can tell the software whether or not we want it to fill in any extra hydrogen atoms. For the purposes of this tutorial, we will be creating a simple ethane molecule, and there are two ways to do this, the first of which is to click once to add a methane molecule, from which we can click on any hydrogen atom to replace it with another carbon atom as specified with this setting. The other method is to click once with your mouse, hold it down, and then drag to create a pair of carbon atoms, which when we release the mouse will be formed and the hydrogen atoms will be filled in, like so. The next step is to head up to the Extensions tab at the top and to click on Optimize Geometry to make sure it's looking all nice and neat. Once this is done, we can save the file by using the Save button at the top left, and I would recommend saving it to your desktop and titling it the name of the molecule and the name of the file type. In this case, Avogadro saves all files to a PDB or protein databank file, And since we'll be working with 3 different types of files in this tutorial, I recommend you name it a PDB file just so that you don't mix them up. So once this is done, simply close Avogadro and your file should appear right here. Now let's go ahead and open up Blender again. We can get rid of this pop-up by clicking anywhere on the screen, and make sure this box is selected by pressing A until it is highlighted in orange, and then press the delete key in your keyboard to get rid of it. Now we can import the file that we just made in Avogadro by going up to the top left, clicking on File, click on Import, and make sure this is Import and not Open. So Import, and then click on Protein Databank. Navigate to your file, in this case I've saved mine to the desktop, and before you click on Import, make sure that this section is configured correctly. For the ball/atom section, make sure the type is set to NURBS, set the distance to 1.5, and in the sticks and bonds section, make sure that both use sticks, color, smooth, and the bonds boxes are all checked, like so. Set the type to normal, and then press on Import. Now we can see our ethane molecule. Simply use the middle mouse button to rotate it around as you see fit. And the next step is to add some color to it. You do this by clicking on anywhere in the interface to deselect the molecule. Click on a single part, and that can be any part, such as this carbon atom. And over on the right, navigate down to the Material Properties section, which looks like a little crash test sphere. Click on this drop down to Browse Material, and select the material that we'd like to change the color of. In this case, I want to change the color of carbon, change the color of hydrogen, and also the bonds using the stick section. But in this case, I'd like to change the carbon to a dark gray color. I can do this by pressing on the base color button, and using this wheel I can change the color as I see fit. I'm going to select grey like so, and if I wanted to then change the hydrogen color, I can then click on the Browse Material drop down, select hydrogen, and change the color like so. In this tutorial I'll be leaving it white, and we can proceed on to our next step by selecting the entire molecule by pressing A, going up to the Object button in the top left, pressing on Make Instances Real at the bottom of the Apply section, then head back up to the Object button again, go right down to the bottom, and under Show/Hide, press Show Hidden Objects. And now you'll see that we've got an unwanted carbon atom. There'll actually be one unwanted atom for each type of atom in our molecule. So in this case we'll have a carbon and a hydrogen. And to get rid of it, simply click anywhere in the interface, and then click on the atom that we want to get rid of, press delete, and do the same for all others, in this case just the hydrogen. Now that we've done this, we can export this by going up to the top left, clicking on File, clicking on Export, and clicking on the FBX option. Navigate to where you'd like to save it to. In this case I'm going to save it to the desktop, and name it in a similar fashion as before. I'll be calling this Ethane FBX. This time we don't need to make any changes to the configuration. We can just click on Export FBX. Once this is done, close down Blender, and you can save this file if you'd like to make any changes to the color. And in this case I won't be doing so, so I'm not going to save it. And if this is done correctly, you should see your Ethane FBX file wherever you saved it. And the next step is to now convert this into the format that ClassVR accepts. You can do this by clicking on the third link of the video description and using this OBJ to GLB converter on AnyConv.com. We can scroll down to this big box and simply drag in our Ethane FBX file, selecting GLB with this drop down and clicking on Convert. This will take a couple of seconds, and afterwards we can just click on this download button and that'll download our file. Once this is done, we can navigate to our downloads folder, and I would recommend renaming this in the same style that we've done previously. In this case it's a GLB file, and I would move this to a nice convenient location. In this case I'll be moving it to the desktop, and now we can actually upload it to ClassVR. Just before that, just double click on the ethane GLB file to make sure that we are happy with it. This will open it up in the 3D Viewer program, which is the default Windows 10 program. In this case I am happy with it, so I'm going to close this and navigate to the ClassVR login portal, which is the last link provided in the video description. And once you've logged on, which normally takes a minute or two, navigate to this My Cloud section on the side, click on it, and then simply drag in our GLB file straight into this center box. And once it's done, it should appear here, from which we can drag it into a playlist, which we can save or send to the ClassVR headsets.